there. I don't think I'm going to bring anyone to tears in the back in this session, but I'll do my best. As the editor of a magazine, I might be a little biased when I say this, but I believe that stories are everything. It's a bold statement, but in many senses it's true. Stories fuel our imagination. They make up our dreams and ambitions. Our lives are stories made up of love, desire, pain, and hurt. It's in stories that we identify with the world. So with this in mind, I'd like to tell you a little bit of a story of my own. I can't really see any of you, but it's okay. Unfortunately, it's not marine related in the slightest, which is I know why we're all here in the first place, but I'm hoping you're going to bear with me anyway. So I went to a safari lodge in the Northwest Province recently to showcase the new app for our interactive magazine, online magazine, Safari. And while I was there, it was suggested that I go down to one of the local schools to show them the app as well. So not thinking too much of this, I went along to the school, and what happened there really moved me. It was quite a moving experience, and I put together a little short film of some of their reactions that I'd like to show you now. Now, bearing in mind that these kids had never even seen a tablet computer before in their lives, what really amazed me about this whole experience was how easily they consumed the content on it. Now, why was this? I believe it's because the content was visually rich, there wasn't too much information, it was full of multimedia, and it was interactive. The content suited the medium perfectly, and this is the key. This is how we, as human beings, are evolving to read stories, through multimedia. With the advent of social media, we're constantly being fed short bits of information from every direction. So our attention spans are in fact shorter than they used to be, and we've become slightly more fickle with our time. On top of this, we've also adopted new devices like these tablets, computers, on which to read this info. So with all these changes to our reading environment taking place, it's natural to conclude, I think, that the way we present these stories needs to change as well. Now, the best way I can illustrate this point is through my own story. When we at Africa Geographic went about producing an online magazine, we realized early on that PDF page flippers were not going to work on a digital device. The reason for this is simple. People are not interested in reading a print magazine on a digital device. It's quite a simple thought. The context is wrong, and people aren't interested in reading 3,000 words of text on that device. So we realized that the readers actually evolved to a new digital context, and we wanted our content to suit this context. So instead, we created a multimedia platform to tell powerful multimedia stories using all the digital tools we have at our disposal, like sound, animation, video, text, music, whatever we could find to bring a story to life. And this was a fundamental paradigm shift that we had to undertake. So I'd like to show you a quick example of what I mean. So here we have a print magazine editorial. And as you can see, there's the editor, and that's Sarah in this case, and she's giving a little outline of what's in the issue to come. It's a normal editorial that you get in a print magazine. But for my online mag, I decided to instead produce a funky video editorial that I would send out at the beginning of the magazine every time, and it became quite an attractive thing for readers. We got a lot of good feedback, and it was just something that people started to look forward to. So I've just put together a short collection of some of those editorials over the past year. So now my point is there's so many important environmental messages out there, and that's why we're all here today. And so many environmental stories that need to be told. So I believe it's essential that all scientists, conservationists, writers and journalists undergo a similar digital evolution to the one that we have, if they want their stories to be consumed and distributed and shared in this crazy digital world that we live in. So part of this evolution, I believe, is conceiving of and giving birth to a highly evolved creature. Now I call this creature, the species that has evolved, the multimedia mobile journalist, otherwise known as the Multi Mojo. Now, the Multi Mojo is a weirdly evolved person. As you can see, he's got various limbs, and one's holding a camera, has got cameras on his head, video camera, tablet in the other hand, constantly on the lookout for a powerful and engaging story that's going to illustrate his point. Now, as an online editor, this is the type of writer that I look for now in the content that I search for. And this is the type of approach that I think that more scientists and conservationists need to take when creating stories and distributing them in the digital space. So my last example is just a example of a blog post, because a lot of us are blog writers and we distribute information like that. So I'm using this particular example for two reasons. Firstly, it's the only part of my talk that has to do with the ocean, which I'm very happy about. And secondly, it shows the power of social media sharing. So I'd like to introduce you to the surfing Ellie. So this elephant was spotted off the coast of Mozambique surfing. And these are the few of the photos that we used to illustrate the story on our blog. Now, what was it about this story that made it so very popular? Well, firstly, it's a fantastic story. I'd never heard of an elephant surfing before. I don't know if any of you have, or marine biologists. So for me, it was a must read, and I think for a lot of other people too. And we also used strong visuals. We didn't clutter it with too much information. There was multimedia, there was video, and we just presented the story in an engaging way. And then finally, and most importantly, this story was then distributed over social media to tens of thousands of people all around the world, which in my mind completed the recipe which I've been talking about for a successful multimedia story, that final element, social media. Which brings me to my closing thought. Stories are essential, as I've said. This will never ever change. But the way we package these stories is changing, and it needs to be done in a convenient way for people to read and distribute online. Stop writing 3,000-word dissertations and essays on your blog, and start looking out for captivating stories, present them in a way that people can consume easily, and I'd say just let social media do the rest. This is the way information is heading, and I hope I've helped you to head in the same direction. Thank you very much.